reading from Isaiah. A shoot shall come out from the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. His delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by what his eyes see, or decide by what his ears hear, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. He shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. Righteousness shall be the belt around his waist, and faithfulness the belt around his loins. The wolf shall live with the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid. The calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze. Their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put its hand on the adder's den. They will not hurt or destroy on my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. On that day the root of Jesse shall stand as a signal to the peoples. The nations shall inquire of him, and his dwelling shall be glorious. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Welcome to Advent, the season of preparation and patience, of watching and waiting. Together as a church, we look forward to the coming of Christ, who came, who comes, and who will come again. Over the next 3 Sundays, we are listening to the words of 3 important voices from the Scriptures, 3 people who were a part of God's big story. These 3 were each waiting on the coming of the Lord, and as they waited, they had important things to proclaim to those who waited too. So today, it's the prophet Isaiah that we've heard from. Isaiah shares a message about new growth, a righteous ruler, and a peace that leads the animals of creation to live together in harmony. It's that last bit of imagery that got me thinking. It reminded me of how 10 years ago, my wife Joanna and I were fortunate to be able to go on a trip with our church to Tanzania, Africa. It was a trip whose main purpose was to visit with some Christian partners in ministry that our church supported then. We spent much of our time traveling and meeting and worshiping with people, but we did manage to fit in some safari time on the Serengeti Plain. If you haven't ever been on a safari trip like that, I'll tell you, you spend a lot of time driving around hoping to see something. Now, there's plenty of zebra and wildebeest to see usually, but to see a giraffe or an elephant or even a lion, it's a little more rare. The most sought-after thing to see, though, what people really want to see is a hunt. You know, some predator hunting, chasing down another animal of prey right there before your eyes. We came close. We watched some cheetahs prowling across the grassland. They saw something, and we watched and waited for a long time, but we never saw anything. No chase, no kill, no actual carnage. I thought of that because this reading from Isaiah is about a time when there were those things. The people of Israel in Old Testament times were being chased in many ways, chased around and chased out of their homeland by foreign powers. Isaiah himself saw plenty of killing and carnage as nation betrayed nation. But in the midst of all this, Isaiah preached to God's people calling them to resist complacency and live holy lives, and proclaiming a promise that was sometimes hard to believe, that God would restore them and bring peace. That's what the section of our reading about all the animals is getting at. It's this wonderful vision of the whole world, all of creation, living in peace. That's what the prophets of old did, after all. For people who were so affected and afflicted by the difficulties of their day, prophets pointed to better time and a renewed future in the Lord. And so this is what Isaiah did. He spoke the word of the Lord that proclaimed the coming of a renewed kingdom, a righteous Messiah, and peace. Peace. And how did he describe that peace? Here's what he said. The wolf shall live with the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid, the calf, and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like an ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put its hand on the adder's den, and they will not hurt or destroy. You see? It's the predators living beside the prey, but none are hurt or destroyed. This is the peace Isaiah is talking about with beautiful images and a faithful longing. Isaiah waits and proclaims peace. Here we are, like Isaiah. We are trusting in God, hoping to see something, waiting a long time. But sometimes it just seems like our world is too overcome with killing and carnage, and that the forces of evil are chasing away what might be good. What's more, because Advent always comes at the end of the calendar year, it seems to always coincide with a time of looking back to remember the year that has been. And doesn't it seem that every year, the year that lies behind is littered with tragedy and injustice and sadness? Isn't that true of this year too? But you see, this is why we need to hear Isaiah's words, because they are a message of hope to us also, who are affected and afflicted by the difficulties of our day. For us, Isaiah points to a better time, a renewed future in the Lord, and peace. And this is not some pie in the sky we are hoping for. This is what the Scriptures announce to us God will do for all His creation. Isaiah waited for the coming of the Lord and announced this peace by talking about wolves and lambs, calves and lions, and a little child living together. What images would you use? What future peace can we envision? Will it be then that those who used to hate shall live with those whom they hated? Then that the terrorist shall lie down with the terrorized, the abuser and the abused reconciled together. The political right and the political left shall eat together. Their supporters shall live together, and the proud shall eat humble pie. The children will play outside, and their parents will not be afraid. And the soldiers will no longer go off to war, because no longer will there be any hurt, and no longer will they destroy. That's the day I'm longing for. That's the day I'm waiting for. How about you? Today we join with the prophet Isaiah, and we say that we too are waiters People of God waiting for the coming of the Lord and the coming of a future that God has promised. It's a future where there is peace, a peace that surpasses our understanding, a peace that so often seems impossible for our world. But it is the future that God has promised, that the Scriptures proclaim. It is the future that we wait for now with hope, with prayer, and with song this Advent season. Amen.